everyone. My name is Ivan, and today I will be talking about Dante's Inferno. Dante Alighieri's background. Born on May 1265 in Florence, Italy, Dante's mother died a couple years after his birth. He became embroiled with Florentine politics, joined the White Guilds. Married to Gemma Donati in 1285. Despite having a love interest named Beatrice Portinari, who he met at 9 years old. Beatrice suddenly dies due to unknown causes in 1290. In 1302, he fell out of favor and was exiled for life by the leaders of the Black Guilds from Florence. After his exile, Dante traveled and started forming the ideas for the Divine Comedy, withdrawing from all types of politics. In 1308, after witnessing the fall of Emperor Henry VII in Italy, Dante portrayed Henry's enemies as members of the Florentine government. He began writing the Divine Comedy to critique about his exile and Henry VII's downfall. Beatrice influences Dante's writing and plays a major role in the Divine Comedy. She was the one who sent Virgil to help Dante as a guide during his journey. In 1314, Dante completed Inferno, the hell part of the Divine Comedy. Dante died on September 13, 1321 in Ravenna, Italy. 9 Circles of Hell overview. First, I will be talking about the 9 Circles of Hell and give you the basic information, including the centers, punishment, recognizable figures, and environment of each circle. First Circle of Hell, Limbo. Sinners, people who never acknowledges that God or Christ exists. Punishment, trapped in constant yearning, separation from heaven and God. Recognizable figures, Homer, Aristotle, Virgil, and Julius Caesar. Environment, green fields capped by a castle. Second Circle of Hell, Lust. Sinners, sinners who give into their cardinal sins, lean to adultery and uncontrollable lust. Punishment, getting swept by strong hot winds, unable to find peace or comfort. Recognizable figures, Achilles, Cleopatra, Francesca da Rimini, and Paolo Malatesta. Environment, a stormy and dark realm. Third Circle of Hell, Gluttony. Sinners, people who overindulge and consume too much, aka the literal definition of Big Macs. Punishment, after consuming good food and living comfortably, sinners are forced to lie in putrid slime filth generated by the environment. Recognizable figures, Cerberus. And yes, this is the same Cerberus from Hades' underworld. Environment, freezing rain, disgusting sludge, and foul-smelling swampy ground. Fourth Circle of Hell, Greed. Sinners, hoarders, and people who recklessly waste their wealth. Punishment, forced to eternally push against massive boulders. Recognizable figures, Pluto is also known as the mythological king of the underworld. Environment, no description available. Circle of Hell, Wrath. Sinners, impulsive and resentful individuals. Punishments, wrathful sinners eternally brawl one another in the river Styx while the Solent are trapped at the bottom of the river, suffocating in mud. Recognizable figures, Filippo Argenti, Medusa, and the Furies. Environment, River of Styx and the City of This. A little more information about Filippo Argenti is that he's not only a political rival of Dante, but a personal enemy. Dante violently confronts the Black Guild in the River of Styx because his brother seized Dante's personal property after his exile. And in the midst of Dante's angry outbursts, Virgil pushes Argenti off their boat back into the river. They watch satisfied as all the other wrathful souls tear Argenti apart. Sixth Circle of Hell, Heresy. Sinners, people having denied the immortality of the soul and the afterlife, and believes that the soul died with the body. Punishment, confined in tombs that are engulfed in an eternal fire. Recognizable figures, Fernanda degli Uberte, Epicurus, and Cavalcante de Cavalcanti. I'm sorry for butchering the names. Environment, graveyard, filled with souls of heretics. Seventh Circle of Hell, Violence. Note the Seventh Circle of Hell is divided into 3 sub-levels, each with different qualities. Sub-level, violence against other people. Sinners, murderers, violent criminals, and serial killers. Punishments, centaurs pelt arrows at all inhabitants, and sinners are submerged in the Phlegethon. Recognizable figures: centaurs, Minotaur, Dionysus, and Alexander the Great. Environment: the river of Phlegethon, boiling river of blood. Seventh Circle of Hell, Violence. Sublevel, violence against self. Sinners, people who have committed suicide. Punishment: trapped within trees and constantly being eaten by harpies. Recognizable figures: harpies and Pedro Vela Pigna. Environment: dark, eerie place known as the Wood of Suicides. Seventh Circle of Hell, Violence. Sublevel, violence against God. Sinners, blasphemers, people who are defiant against God and nature. Punishment: sinners are forced to lie on scorching sand. Recognizable figures: Brunello Latini, Dante's mentor. Environment: raining fire and burning plain sand. And something to note is that Dante converses with his mentor despite his punishment and deeply respects him as a famous political figure in Florence. Unfortunately, the basic information in the 8th Circle of Hell will be summarized because this circle is divided into 10 parts, and it will get pretty boring for you if I've gone over everything about the circle, and I don't want this video to be hours long. 8th Circle of Hell, Fraud. Sinners, panders, seducers, flatterers, simonics, sorcerers, marauders, hypocrites, thieves, evil counselors, schismatics, and alchemists. Punishment: there are tons of different types of punishments in the circle, which includes getting whipped by demons while naked, engulfed in a single pillar of flame, being covered in disease and turning into beasts, and buried headfirst in a hole and having their feet set on fire. Recognizable figures: Ulysses, Diomed, Pope Nicholas III, Boniface VIII, and Vanni Fussi. Environment: organized in 10 levels of Melibulge. This circle houses 10 different ditches where different types of sinners that commit fraud dwell. For example, river of human excrement, venomous snake pits, and boiling pits of black tar. Pope Nicholas III and Boniface VIII are some of the church members that were responsible for Dante's exile. More on this later. Ninth Circle of Hell, Treachery. Sinners, traitors to family, country, friends, or benefactors. Punishment: getting consumed by Satan eternally or trapped beneath a frozen lake depending on the severity of their sin. Recognizable figures: Satan, Judas, Brutus, and Cassius. Environment: extremely cold, frozen lake of Cocytus, where the 4 rivers Acheron, Styx, Phlegethon, and Cocytus converge. The thing to note about the slide is that the 9th Circle of Hell was split into 4 divisions, and depending on the sin is how deep the sinners go into the frozen lake. For example, Satan is in the center of the frozen lake, waist deep in the frozen water. Next, I will be discussing the plot of Dante's Inferno, situational irony and symbolism of 3 with you. The plot of Dante's Inferno. Dante gets lost in the dark woods where he's blocked by the 3 beasts, panther, lion, and she-wolf, who each symbolizes fraud, violence, and greed. The spirit of Virgil appears to explain to Dante that he was sent by his love interest, Beatrice, to be his guide, and the only way forward is to take an alternative path, going down the circles of hell. Dante and Virgil then journey down the 9 circles of hell. Dante has a goal of finding his own salvation and confronting the nature of the different sins in the hopes of redemption and finding paradise. With the sinners and punishments growing more heinous after each circle, Dante finally understands the importance of sins and punishment. He now sees the punishments as the concept of divine justice when he and Virgil reaches the final circle and climbs Satan's back to reach purgatory. Situational irony. The corrupt church leaders and politicians that were responsible for Dante's exile are the same people that end up in the eighth circle of hell, fraud. Stripped of their authority and power they once had in life. Their punishment is burning upside down in holes with flames enveloping their feet. Ulysses' endowment was once known for their intellect and persuasion, like the famous plan they used to sneak into Troy using a Trojan horse, but now they are stuck together in a pillar of flame, unable to use their tongues in the eighth circle of hell after misusing their intellect and becoming manipulative to get what they desired. The sinners in the third circle of hell, gluttony, were once people that indulged in the most luxurious food and drink, but now their punishment is to lay in filth and sludgy mud. Symbolism of the number 3. Dante is portrayed as 3 different versions of himself. Dante, the author, narrator, and pilgrim in Inferno. He uses each version to give emotional contrast as the character and writer of this poem. For example, Dante the Pilgrim is shown to have moral growth and vulnerability throughout his journey down the circles of hell, while Dante the author is feeling the injustice and turmoil after being exiled by the church from his hometown of Florence. Dante utilizes the number 3 and incorporates in Inferno because it shows the divine order and harmony he strives for, while also teaching his readers about his Christian concept of Trinity. Finally, these are my work cited pages and the sources I used to make these slides. Also, this slide shows the work cited for the music and images I used throughout this video. Thank you for listening to my presentation about Dante's Inferno. I hope you enjoyed it.